Can you be arrested for calling a cop a pig? Yeah, and matter of fact, it recently happened in Rockwall, Texas. Now, whether or not that arrest is lawful is an entirely different question. The story doesn't start with that arrest. It starts with Rockwall, Texas, and a guy who sings about bad cops. You know who I'm talking about, right? Who is that guy?
Then the truth step in. Otto don't fold, he don't hide, don't grin. Like, subscribe, share, let the message fly. Texas know the call when the watchdog cry. No chain can bind, no fear can stay. Otto got the truth and he balk all day. Stand up for your rights. Stand up.
Okay, hi. We are living currently in my body. Fuck the police. Hope you have the best day ever. Whee! Yeah. Hi guys. So I'm Otto, and we are the Watchdogs. I'm here today in Rockwall County in front of the jail, where shit is fucked up and stuff in there. Hope you guys are gonna be okay. Be careful. There's armed gang members in there. You can tell because they have a shiny piece of shit on their shirt. Yeah. So I'm waiting for a friend to get out of this building today. Currently, he's putting in work behind bars. I have no idea why. Oh. And I hope, and Rockwall PD, if you're watching, and I assume you're watching, I don't want to be arrested, and you know who doesn't want me to be arrested more than me? You. Ask me how I know. Yeah. Because police.
If Rockwall Police Department wasn't watching then, they're certainly going to be watching now. And if you're not familiar with Otto's story, let me show you the clip from Lackluster if you haven't seen it already.
How are you today, my friend?
Is that a question? So you know who I am, and you're going to detain me for disorderly conduct.
Yeah.
For what?
For the obscene gesture that you did over here on
Obscene
the curb.
gesture. Do you know the definition of the obscene?
Okay, so I'm going to detain you right now, okay? Okay, you don't have any weapons on you, do you?
I don't answer questions.
Okay.
No, hey, don't touch my shit. I don't consent to any searches or seizures, ma'am.
You're in custody.
I don't consent to any searches or seizures.
Okay, I'm searching you incident to arrest because you're under arrest.
I'm under arrest. You're going to take me to jail today?
Yes, sir.
People watching you right now.
Is that all?
Yeah, I don't know how to get married.
You're going to take me to jail for a finger?
The day that Officer B. Lane arrested Otto, he had court stemming from a previous incident in Roy City, where he was legally camping with his kids.
What are you?
Police officer, put that laser down!
It's not a laser, it's a flashlight. What do you want?
Move away from the truck!
How far away?
Talk to my voice!
I'm not sure I want to.
Talk to my voice! You're scaring my children!
And local officers took them and charged him with child endangerment. The likelihood that the Rockwall Police Department didn't know about that court date is next to nothing, considering that on December 5th, a large group of protesters amassed in front of the city hall, where many were charged for using sidewalk chalk to redress their grievances with the local government. Take that information and combine it with the fact that Officer B. Lane knew Winston Knowles by first and last name despite having never met him.
I've never met you in person. I feel so honored. I'm glad this is on video, dude. I feel honored.
And you're left with a lot of unanswered questions. But the one thing we do know is that as a result of that arrest, Otto missed his court date for that child endangerment case. And while he was in jail, they placed an ankle monitor on him, and they raised his bond to $65,000. Now in the city of Rockwall, there are only 6 approved bondsmen, all of which have alleged direct ties to the sheriff. Nobody would accept his bond. Because he missed that court case, they removed all visitation and all contact with his 2 children for 2 years. The disorderly charge for flipping off Brittany Lane was dismissed the very next morning, but by then the damage was done, and Brittany's tyranny separated 2 children from their father. Despite all that, the department promoted her to sergeant just 2 months later, and she was assigned to manage the field training program to help teach new officers how to frivolously waste tax dollars and split up families on petty beefs. Otto eventually filed a lawsuit against her without the help of an attorney, which is where the story previously left off, and overall, Otto and his children were separated for almost 3 years.
Hey, what? Where was that one going? Come on, man. I'm just, oh my God.
Today, Otto has been reunited with his kids, and he has no convictions for the several unlawful actions of law enforcement taken against him over their hurt feelings. The lawsuit recently settled for nearly $100,000, but it's just
on one end, I am glad that Otto was able to get a settlement out of this. I hope it was enough for what he had endured. I hope it was enough for what his family had endured. But I will tell you this. The accountability is obviously lacking. I know the officer didn't pay a dime towards that settlement. I know she probably continued to collect paychecks, continued to move on thinking that the police department and the system is going to continue protecting her. And what I will tell you this is from this most recent arrest incident, not involving Otto, but we'll get into it. I'll show you the video. I'll show you the training records. It is clear to me that the city of Rockwall has not learned its lesson. It's clear to me that they don't give a crap about our First Amendment rights, and they will continue to arrest people who exercise them. That, to me, is the significance of why Otto is out there in Rockwall, despite everything he's been through.
So I'm waiting for a friend to get out of this building today. Currently, he's putting in work behind bars. I have no idea why.
Ready, set, go!
Are those gang tattoos?
What's up?
Are those gang tattoos?
No, not at all.
Sure.
Are you part of this?
Do what?
Are you a part of this investigation?
Part of what?
Of this investigation.
What are you talking about?
Do you know who this guy is?
What are you talking about, dude?
Okay. I'm gonna need you to stand back behind this line, or else you're gonna go to jail. Understand?
Put your hands on me.
Don't slide me. Stand back behind that line, or you're gonna go to jail.
Our friend filming the heroes in little old Rockwall, Texas, did something that I thought could serve as a pretty good teaching moment if you already didn't know. When he was instructed to back up or ordered to back up, however you want to call it, he was pushed or told to back up behind the line, and he remained behind the line. I know that for a fact because I spoke to him and he made that point clear. And that's significant because under the Fifth Circuit Court of Appeals, which covers Texas, they constantly and repeatedly protect police officers and give them qualified immunity if you don't obey their orders. They say that's separate from just speech. And so by our friend following the cops' orders to stay behind the line, that eliminates qualified immunity for failing to obey orders or interference. And that's significant. Now, as to the push, unfortunately, I also know that the Fifth Circuit has granted police officers qualified immunity for doing similar things. Remember, the courts aren't out to figure out if the cops did wrong or made incorrect decisions. Instead, what they're trying to figure out if the cop should have known that their decisions were wrong and violated your rights. All right, let's move on with the video.
Oh, you pig. What's your name, bitch? Pig! I'm talking to you, motherfucker. You're under arrest for interference. You're under arrest. For what? Turn around. Turn around. You can't yell at us, man. Felony investigation. What's wrong with you, man? You got issues. Perfect. Let me talk to your.
Yeah. All right, man. You have an ID on you? Don't reach. Do you have an ID? Yes or no? It's a yes or no question.
I don't know.
I'm talking. 3013 or 3210 2013. That's it. Shot at interference. In custody. I need one people.
So there you go. He was told to stand behind a line. They knew he was filming. He stood behind the line and then he called him a pig, and they didn't like that. Or maybe, as they said, you can't yell at us. Well, when I checked the law, it doesn't say you can't yell at him. The law seems to suggest the contrary. Let's start with the interference statute, Texas Penal Code 3815. And even if you're not in Texas, you're probably already familiar with this because it happens way too often. A person commits an offense with criminal negligence if they interrupt, disrupt, impede, or otherwise interferes with a peace officer while the officer is performing a duty or exercising authority imposed or granted by law. I don't think anybody was doubting that the police officer was exercising their authority allowed under law. It seemed like they were doing some kind of investigation. So the ultimate question is whether our friend was interrupting, disrupting, impeding, or otherwise interfering with that duty. Obviously, we know it's a defense to prosecution under the section if the interference consisted of speech only. So what does the Fifth Circuit say about it? Well, we have constantly recognized that a citizen does not surrender First Amendment protections when directing criticism at a law enforcement officer, and the right to verbally oppose or challenge police action without thereby risking arrest was clearly established. What happened in Freeman was there was a verbal confrontation with the deputies that was heated and profane, but it still did not provide probable cause for the arrest, since arguing with officers does not constitute an actionable offense under established First and Fourth Amendment law. Although Freeman was yelling profanities and speaking in an agitated tone throughout the encounter, she remained at a distance from the officers, didn't make any physical contact, and so basically engaged in conduct that the First Amendment is designed to protect. So as a result, for at least the past 20 years, no reasonable officer could have believed that Freeman's verbal opposition to the deputies, remember using heated and profane language, could constitute criminal interference. Arresting anybody for speech alone violates clearly established constitutional protections. Apply that principle here. Where does that come from? Where does Freeman take that from? City of Houston v. Hill, 1987 Supreme Court case, where we get that golden standard. Keep in mind, the Supreme Court doesn't say we have this right. This is a God-given right that officers have to understand and protect. The First Amendment protects a significant amount of verbal criticism and challenge directed at police officers. So would you agree that shouting pig at police officers is a significant amount of verbal criticism? And as a result, you can't arrest for it. Even though these officers are receiving, if you would call it, a significant amount of verbal criticism, it doesn't mean they get to use their arrest powers to just go arrest people. That's not how the law works. They take oath. Here's an oath that these officers took. And this oath makes clear that you're supposed to uphold the Constitution. How long does it take them to just kick that aside and start abusing their authority and tossing the Constitution aside and saying they're not going to recognize your rights? And why is it they get to say that? Well, because the system obviously is protecting them. That's the problem. The Supreme Court went on in Hill to say speech may be provocative and challenging, yet it does not lose constitutional protection merely because it offends or angers those who hear it. The freedom of individuals verbally to oppose or challenge police action without thereby risking arrest is one of the principal characteristics by which we distinguish a free nation from a police state. The Constitution does not allow such speech to be made a crime. So because the First Amendment protects the expression at issue, officers and municipalities must respond with restraint, de-escalating volatile encounters rather than weaponizing the arrest power to silence constitutionally protected speech. So the Supreme Court's been saying it in 1987. The officer here didn't get the memo. Or maybe he did get the memo. It's a little unclear. Because after the Otto incident, the police department, either through settlement or some other means, decided that they were going to give their officers First Amendment training. And as you see here, at least the main officer responsible for arresting our friend did not attend the training. I still don't know who the identity of the other officers are, but we should find out that information soon. And when you look through the course that the city put on itself, look at the cases the city was teaching to their officers. They were letting its officers know that you cannot arrest people for speech. They're letting them know that they have to just deal with verbal criticism and they can't use their arrest powers. What happened since taking this class in 2020? We don't know. So let's talk about the main officer. I've been dreading this long to try to say the guy's name. I have no idea. Is it Orozco? I'll just call him Officer O, or I'll just call him Hero. He's our hero. So our hero gets licensed in 2022. He's joining the department at the height of the dispute with Otto. He presumably should have known about how serious it was that you don't go arrest people for First Amendment violations, especially if he just observed that his department agreed to pay out $100,000. Maybe he didn't care because he didn't see any real impact from it. Maybe he didn't see any real training from it. Matter of fact, looking at his T-Cole records, we know he didn't see actual training from it. Let me show you a breakdown of his thousands and thousands of hours of training. So looking at his post-academy continuing education, you can see that more than half of it involves investigative and professional training. 182 hours, 39% involves weapons and tactics. He even devotes 15 hours to diversity and wellness. How many hours to constitutional law? Just 1. And I actually pulled up that course, and it pertains to Miranda warnings. When you look at the purpose of this course is to provide an explanation in depth to a vital concept about when a person is considered a suspect in the United States. Specifically, it's about balancing the process, including providing certain notifications to individuals. The learning objectives talk about defining an interrogation or defining an interview, applying the concept of in-custody interrogation, so after the arrest has happened, and what kind of warnings you give. Speaks nothing to First Amendment. So when you look at our hero's T-Cole records or his training records, there is nothing dedicated whatsoever to the First Amendment. And as we know, he's not on the training roster of that First Amendment auditor course, and it appears based on available information that he never received that First Amendment auditor's course. So everything he would have known, I guess, would have been at the academy. The training he did receive with the Rockwall Police Department, to me, is concerning, and it shows what he thought he was going to be as a police officer. So in the 3 or so years that our hero has been employed by Rockwall, he has spent 182 hours on weapons and tactics, 15 hours on diversity and wellness, and just 1 hour, if you could call it that, on constitutional law. I guess our hero thought by becoming a police officer rather than a soldier that he was going to go kick down doors or do raids. He's also taking a bunch of evasive driving courses too. Maybe he thought he was going to get to drive a Bearcat. When you go to the Rockwall Police Department's website, they actually have a drop down where you can look at their incidents spread out on the map. And so when you're applying the type of training that our hero is receiving, and then you go and you limit the inquiries to how many times was SWAT called during the time that our hero was employed with Rockwall, 1 incident pulls up. But you know what he deals a lot with? Assisting motorists. Look at all the calls there. Or disorderly conduct. Or a civil matter. Or a disturbed person. What does that even mean? There's a filter for open carry. I'd be more interested about this too. They're actually responding to calls because people are open carrying, which you're allowed to do in Texas. Anyway, that's probably another video. In closing, yes, I represent our friend. This is going to be a fun case. It looks like I'm going to have to visit Rockwall if they don't settle quickly. They've already set the bar for what they expect to pay out in these types of cases. I will be posting more videos about this case as it progresses. So if you have any questions or comments or want to follow along, let me know. But until next time, this is Clearly Established. Thanks for watching.